This video is going to be a very hands-on context engineering tutorial. I'll show you exactly how to get started with a new project using a context engineering template that I created that you can use for free. If you follow this context engineering template, you really can get to the point to where AI is writing 99% of the code for you. And I really don't think that's an exaggeration. I've been using this template personally, and it's gotten to where AI really is writing most of my code. I would estimate maybe even 99% of my code is actually written by AI now, and it's accurate and bug-free. Let's go ahead and dive right in. If you'd like to get this template, you can go to fingochat.ai/context engineering library. I'll put a link to this in the description below. This is a public page that anyone can access. In the library section, there's something called context engineering template. Click the get train of thought button. You have two options to get this context engineering template. You can either copy the text for LLMs and paste it into your LLM of choice. So for example, if you use ChatGPT, you could paste this template into ChatGPT. To follow along with this tutorial, I suggest clicking the download text file option. It downloads the text file, and the way you can use this is by going to fingochat.ai. You can log in or sign up for free. That'll take you to a page like this. If you're coding, I suggest clicking the download app button to download the desktop app. The reason is this is the desktop app. In the desktop app, in the train of thought, which is where we're going to do our context engineering, the desktop app has access to the file tree and local files on your computer, which the website version does not have. You need the desktop app to be able to access local files, which just makes the whole context engineering process so much easier and more effective. Once you've downloaded the desktop app, you can come up here, click train of thought, click the import button, select the train of thought text file that was just downloaded. That will import the context engineering template into your train of thought. And just so you know what the train of thought is context data added to the beginning of every request you make. And so this is like your context window that you would put your context engineering content in. This is everything you want the AI to know when answering your questions. You can come up here and click the arrows to create as many trains of thought as you want. I created one called context engineering tutorial, and we'll go one by one through each thought that you should have in your train of thought. And again, this is the template I personally follow myself when building new projects. I would estimate I'm able to finish projects 20 times faster. That again is not an exaggeration. We'll go through these one by one. The first thought that you should add is the project introduction. This would be a text thought. This is where you explain to the AI what project you're working on. And so for example, I'm going to be creating another video soon. As an example, I created a project introduction that says I want to create a basic AI web search chatbot using the AI SDK React on the front end, Stream Down, and AI SDK Gateway. Next, you would list the tech stack that you're going to use for this project. For this project, I'll say Next.js with app router, Tailwind CSS, the NPM packages I mentioned in the introduction. And I forgot, I also want to use TypeScript. So I want to make sure the AI knows I want to use TypeScript, or we'll probably write everything in JavaScript. Next, I like to save the package.json file from my project. To do that, you'll have to delete the content in this text thought, then come over here to the Files tab, click Select Files, find the package.json in your project. This will let the AI know exactly which packages you're using in your project. Next, there's the project visual style or aesthetics. A great website to go to is dribble3bs.com. Dribbble has a lot of really great designs. You can come here to look up design styles for your app. If you come back to this template train of thought, it lists 10 design styles that are being used right now. There's flat, neomorphism, glassmorphism, and more. I'll just search neomorphism on Dribbble so you have an idea of how this works. As you can see this is neomorphism design. One was called neo-brutalism. That sounds interesting. Let's see what that looks like. Here are some examples of neo-brutalism, and you can click on the options to have a better idea of what they look like. And underneath each of them, there's a little description description of what the design style means, what it's like, I'm going to go with Bento UI. This focuses on card grid, bento box layouts, emphasizing modular, glanceable panels, common on dashboards and landing pages. And so I'm going to say follow bento UI style patterns. And this is an example of Bento UI, but you can pick whichever styling pattern you'd like. This really helps the AI in knowing how to design your app. Next is the project color palette. You can go to coolers.co to generate and choose a color palette. If you come here, you just click start the generator and you can click the space bar until you find one that you like. It also mentions coolers.co palettes trending. You can go to this link to see trending color palettes. I think I'm going to go with white, black, and this orange color as the three main colors for the app. And so I'm going to say primarily use these colors, white, black, and this is the orange color that I found on Coolers. I'm going to say use a lot of white space, keep everything minimalistic and clean. Again, these design instructions are really important so the AI knows how to write your code and how to design your code. Next is a product roadmap. This is a list of features that you want finished in this project. One of the cool things about FingoChat is it knows which tasks are complete or not. If you check a task complete, the AI will know that it's complete. If it is not checked, it will know that it's not complete. Now, a lot of times at this point, before even creating the product roadmap, I would work with the AI to create a detailed product roadmap. But since this is a tutorial, I'll keep things simple. I'll just say create a landing page that is the AI chatbot, get basic functionality working, be able to input the text and see the output of text. I'll say from the AI. But in a real project, I would get really detailed with a product roadmap. I would really think through what I want to build and get very detailed with the product roadmap. Next is your database schema. If you have a database, you can either put that in a code thought if you just want to paste in the database, or in a files thought. This is the new project I'm working on. The way I usually like to do it is I like to have a seed.sql file, and then I would have my database tables in this file here, and that's what I would save to this file. A note here is if you have not created a database yet, you can make that be the first task with FingoChat.ai. Ask it to help you create a seed.sql file for your database. I'm going to go ahead and just select the seed.sql file. And it's just a basic users table for now. But as you can see, it's syncing with the code in my project, in my cursor project. And I'll just write test here to show you that it updates. As you can see, it's synced there. And then I'll delete it again and it's synced again. This is just so great for projects. Having your files connected to your train of thought, it just makes development so much faster. You're not even having to think about copying and pasting your code into the train of thought. The train of thought just always knows your code, the relevant code. So I'll go ahead and save that. And back here, I'm actually, just so the AI doesn't get confused, I'm going to say, I do not have a database yet. And so instead, I'll leave some kind of note that says, I do not have a database yet. In the future, if I have a database, I will put the seed data here. I just don't want the AI to think that there is data here that it should be referencing. Right now, I'm not worried about a database. But if your project does have a database, that would be where to put it. The next is the project file tree. To access this, you should delete this so that you can access the file tree. Click select folder, select the parent folder of your project, the project that you're working on. And now a thing to know about this is it just saves your file tree so that your train of thought can know your file structure, but it is not saving all the content inside of your project. That would be too many tokens being saved. The point of the file tree is just so the AI can know the structure of your app. It will know all the folder names, all the file paths, the file names. So this is really important to save. Next, I like to put up-to-date documentation. You may have noticed with the other AI models, they're trained on 1 to 2 year old data. And so a lot of times their documentation is out of date. This possibly more than anything can inject so many bugs into your code. This is really the root cause of a lot of the issues with AI. And so if if you're using modern languages or technology, tech that's been built in the past year or so, you'll really want to make sure to put the links to the documentation in this page. And the way it works is FingoChat will get the latest information from the URLs you provide every time you make a chat request. So every time you make a chat request, it will run a new GET request to make sure that the documentation is the most up to date. So this is one of the packages I want to use, the AI SDK. So I'm going to get the link to the introduction. I'll paste that there. I want to use the Vercel AI Gateway. The Vercel Gateway allows you to just have one AI SDK, and it works with hundreds of LLM models. And one of the things you'll notice with modern documentation websites is a lot of times you'll see this copy page button. One of the things I love about Vercel is if you click the drop down, you can say view as markdown. Then that takes you to a markdown version of the page. I like to get the markdown version of the documentation, that link, because AI can read markdown really well. So when looking at documentation today, it's a good idea to look for an MD version, a markdown version of the documentation if it's available, and add that to the documentation. I got a few more markdown documentation pages I wanted it to know. The next thing I really wanted to test out with this project was the new Streamdown package that Vercel just came out with. Streamdown makes AI results styled pretty. Basically, it's supposed to be a drop-in replacement for React Markdown if you've ever used React Markdown. So I'm going to go ahead and just copy this page. As far as I know, all the documentation for Streamdown is just on the streamdown.ai page. I'm going to paste that into the documentation as well. And now the AI will always have the most up-to-date documentation related to my project in the up-to-date documentation thought. All right, and the final thought to update is files relevant to what you are currently working on. Now, this might end up being more than just one file thought. You may want to create one file thought for, say, components, maybe one for utils, and so on. Since I'm just getting started and I don't have much in my project, I'm just going to reference the app page. And so I'll say /app/ this has some notes in it. It says select the files in your project that are relevant to the task. And this is a big thing you are currently working on. It says take things in small chunks, work on one component or page at a time. Don't try to get the AI to create the entire app all at once. And it explains a bit about the token limit. It's set to 30,000 tokens. The reason for this is studies show that when you pass more than 30,000 tokens to AI context, the AI just gets confused and the quality of your output goes down dramatically. That's why we limit it to 30,000 tokens. And it really emphasizes that by taking things one step at a time, limiting your files to just the files relevant to what you are working on, the AI will generate amazing results. You really can have 99% or more of your code being generated accurately by the AI if you follow this train of thought template. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this. I'll go to files. I'll go to app and go ahead and sync the page.tsx file. All right, and this is actually ready to get started. Let's go ahead and test this out to see how well it does. I have not tried this out yet. Okay, I'm just going to send a prompt that says, I just created this project. It's brand new. Look at my train of thought and tell me what to do. And one more thing before we move on, I just want to point out that your data with fingochat.ai is stored locally on your device, not on our servers, providing you maximum privacy. And so fingochat.ai, the company never sees any of your conversation data. It's all saved directly on your computer in the desktop app, or if you're using a web browser, it's saved on your web browser. It also uses the ChatGPT 5 model family, which is currently ranked as the best coding model out there. And it auto switches between fast and thinking models for you based on request complexity. So we have a built-in complexity router that automatically chooses which model is best for you based on the request complexity. Now let's go ahead and run this prompt and see how well it does. Okay, and as you can see, it understands everything that's in the train of thought. It tells me what I want to build. It knows that I want to use clean UI, bento-like. It knows I want the landing page to be the chatbot. It gives me a specific plan to follow. First, it says npm install these packages. I'm going to go ahead and install these packages into my project. Next, it says to create a .env.local file. I'm going to go ahead and do that. It says to put this .env variable in. To get your AI Gateway API key, you would need to have a Vercel.com account if you'd like to use Vercel. Once you log in, there's an AI Gateway panel that you can click on. You come down here to click this Create an API Key button. Once you click that button, it will take you to this Create Key page. Click Create Key, give it a name. After you create that, there will be a modal on the screen that appears where you can copy the key, come back to your project, and paste that key value here. Step 3, it says to create this file. It says create a simple API chat route. And so I'm going to go into my app directory, create an API folder. Within that, I'll create a chat folder. And within that, I'll create a route.ts file. It says to copy this route into that. I'm going to go ahead and copy this file into this. And the gateway it selected was OpenAI GPT-5. And if you would like to select a different model, you can go to vercel.com/AI-gateway/models. Come down here and copy the model that you want. I'm going to select Perplexity Sonar. All Perplexity responses are supposed to be integrated with web search. And you'll notice the input tokens cost is only $1 per million inputs, $1 per million outputs. I'm going to copy that. I'll paste that into the gateway. Again, I want to see if web search works. That would be pretty cool. All right, now it says to replace the home page with this. So I'm going to go here to the home page. I'll replace the whole page with what it told me to put in. All right, and it says it should be working, just npm run dev. And before I do that though, it says next steps recommendations, add streaming responses for a nicer UX experience. I do want streaming responses, so it must not have added in streaming responses. Before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and come up here to my train of thought. I'm going to add a new file. I'll say app API. Let's see what that is. That's chat. I'll put that file in here. Okay, so the AI will always know this route, and it already knows the landing page. So that's saved. Now I'm going to say I do want streaming responses. Oh, and the other thing it already knows too is the package.json. So it will know that I installed all the packages it mentioned, which was Streamdown, AI SDK, Gateway. So I don't even have to tell it that. I do like sometimes to say something like, see my train of thought for most up-to-date code. I already added the changes you just mentioned. What do I do now? All right. And so let's see what it tells us to do. It said to replace the route.ts with this. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this new route. I'll come over here to route, paste that there. One of the things that's a good idea to check is to just make sure the AI didn't leave anything out. It doesn't look like it did. And you'll notice it just switched back to OpenAI GPT-5. I want Perplexity Sonar. So I'm going to copy that, switch back to this is the new code. I'm going to switch it to that. And so that it doesn't do that again, I'm going to come up here in my tech stack. I'm going to say Perplexity Sonar model for the AI SDK gateway so I can run web searches. So I'm going to add that to the tech stack so it knows I don't want to use the ChatGPT model. I want to use Perplexity Sonar specifically, so it shouldn't do that again. All right. Next, it says update the page. I'm just going to review it to make sure it didn't delete anything. It looks like it didn't. I'll go ahead and copy that. I'll paste that here. All right. And it says it should be ready to test. So I'm going to go ahead and test this out and see if it works. All right. It says to go to localhost 3001. All right. So here is the app that it created. I'm going to ask something like, what are the top news stories today? And I just clicked enter, by the way, without having to click the button. And as you can see, I'm going to zoom up because I'm using the Perplexity model. It knew what day it was. It knew what the top stories were for that day. It looks like there's some protest going on in Indonesia. I'm just going to look that up to see if that's real, which it is. That is going on right now. It says there was an earthquake in Afghanistan. Wow, it looks like there was recently an a 6.0 earthquake in Afghanistan. And so, as you can see, it's pretty remarkable what it was able to do. This is just the first try. And that is how you can context engineer a new project. You can follow the same process for any project you're working on. Just upload the relevant files that you're currently working on, all the files related to the files you're working on right now. And as you can see, the results are pretty remarkable. Let us know any advice you have in the comments below about context engineering. What do you think about it? And if you have any comments or questions about FingoChat, let us know those in the comments below as well. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon if you'd like to see more content like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.